Good afternoon, everyone. Today is, let me see the day. Sorry for, today is May 29, 2026. And we are having the Vinaya class on the Zoom, organized by UTPSI. And today is also my last session in the Vinaya class. And from next week, June, you will study with Venerable Dhammavichani from Thailand. And in this class today, I would like to share with you let me see. Again, let me check. So, yeah. Okay. Can you see the slideshow? I have shared Vinaya logic and ethical psychology.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
You have seen. Thank you. So in this session, we will investigate on the topic understanding the inner architecture of Buddhist discipline. We will move beyond legalism to the therapeutic mastery of the mind. So you can see that discipline judges the mind before the action. We can say that Vinaya is not merely about actions, but about the mind behind the actions. The Vinaya functions as a mirror of the mind. It does not evaluate actions mechanically. Instead, it questions, was there awareness in your action? Was there any deception there? Was the action deliberate? And was there any negligence or confusion? So based on this question, we can see that even two outwardly identical actions yield entirely different consequences based on the mental states. And that is why Vinaya is medicine and not punishment. Because we know that intention dictates the karmic weight of an action. In the sutta, the Buddha say that Cetanahang Bhikkhave Kammang Vadami. Monastics, is intention that I call karma. That is why even in the Vinaya, when a monastic commit an offense, we have 5-step intentionality gradient matrix. So we have from the deliberate intention. So when the action is fully intentional, then full offense incurred. And also, we have to focus on the motivated intention. If the action is driven by greed, hatred, or delusion, then it will have heavier ethical weight. Otherwise, if this is only a negligent action, it is manifested like a careless or reckless behavior, then the offense is lighter, but still blameworthy. And the next light level is only accidental action. It is sometimes it's only an unintended action. Then usually, often, there will be no offense. And the last one, unconscious action. When no awareness is present, then usually no offense. You can see that like in the act of killing, if we have the fully intentional action of killing, then the full offense occurs. And if not only intentionally, but you are driven by hatred, then the weight is much heavier. But sometimes it is because of you are careless. Sometimes you intend to only just to help the ants come out of the liquid, the water. But because of your unskillful action, then you might harm them. It is negligent action. Sometimes you see that sometimes when we are walking and we are not so mindful enough, and sometimes we don't see in. Sometimes you see the ants, but it is you don't have enough time to stop, to prevent stepping on the ants, and then that action we can say the negligence, but it's still blameworthy. And unintended action and unconscious action, usually no offense. Like at night when we walk, we cannot see anything under the feet, and then sometimes unintentionally we can kill some kinds of insects, but it is usually there is no offense in that case. That is why we need to differentiate between the external actions and the cetana, the intention. And here you can see that moral responsibility depends on the perception of reality. Before we mentioned about sanya, cetana, the intention, and now I would like to mention here the perception of reality. Sanya means perception, recognition, or understanding. So moral responsibility depends not only on the physical act, but on what one understands oneself to be doing. And that is why in the Vinaya, we will meet this term to describe the levels of perception or recognition. So the sanchicha you can meet very often in the Bhikkhuni Patimokkha. So sanchicha means knowingly or intentionally. So when you do an action knowingly and intentionally, sanchicha, it increases responsibility. But sometimes we do the action, but not knowing. Ajananti. Jananti is knowing. Ajananti, not knowing. Sometimes we do not know the rules, and sometimes we do not know that is the case and the situation. So in the case of not knowing, then it may lessen the offense. Then we have the Vedanata, overwhelmed by pain. So in this case, because of the sickness, because of the painful feeling, so you do some action, then in this case, the responsibility is mitigated. It means that it is weaker, heavy, this is lighter. And in the case of Chitta Chitta or Ummatika, Chitta Chitta means disturbed mind, when the mind is disturbed, and Ummatika when the bhikkhuni is insane, is mad or crazy, then there is no offense. So when you read the Bhikkhuni Vibhanga, you can see that at the last paragraph of each rule, there could be the sentence that in the case of Ummatika, the insane, if the case the Bhikkhuni is insane, then there could be no offense. So these are the levels of the sanya in committing an offense. And now we come to the next is the hierarchies of offenses, functions as a pedagogical funnel. So you can see that from the heaviest is parachika and to the lightest, the sekya. So we can see parachika is defeat offenses. It leads to permanent expulsion. Here, the focus is the spiritual integrity. Because it is this when someone commit a parachika, you see that it is something that they break the core of the Vinaya, of the chastity of the monastic life. That is why it must lead to permanent expulsion. But for the Sangha Disesa, they are still serious communal offenses. But there is the probation and rehabilitation. And the focus here is the trust, because it can create the trust for the community, for the Sangha, and also for the lay community. They know that when someone does something wrong to harm the society or to harm the community, but it's not up to the level of breaking the dignity of the monastic life, then it can be repaired. And there is the procedure of probation and rehabilitation to help them to recover from their mistakes. And then the next is Nisagya Pachitya. These are attachment-related offenses concerning with the ropes and bows and money, gold and silver, etc. And because it's related to attachment to the properties, to materials, that is why the method for treatment here is forfeiture and confession. And focus here in the procedure is relinquishing the objects. And the next is pachitya. These are confession offenses. And when one committed these offenses, they need the acknowledgement and purification. Only acknowledge they need only to come to a fellow monastics and acknowledge the mistake with them, and then they will get purified. Then the focus here is the course correction. And we have the next is a pati desaniya, also only the admission offenses. And here the focus is the transparency. We need to be transparent of even the lighted offense. We don't conceal it, but we come to a fair Brahma fairer, and so that we can admit the offense, so that we can be transparent without to make ourselves feel at ease that even though we have committed an offense, but we don't hide it, and we have confession with another friend, so that they will witness and they can encourage us to repair and to make correction. And the last one is Sekiya or training rooms. These are for the refinement of conduct. The focus here is to improve the mindfulness and grace. So we can see that in the Patimokkha, there are many lighter runes, very light. For example, 75 Sekiya or training runes. Some runes are very simple, like you shouldn't laugh aloud, or you shouldn't go walk on tip-top, etc. So sometimes when the lay people, when they heard about this, oh, even these runes are so light, but because many are purely pedagogical. The purpose is shaping sensitivity, deportment, and communal dignity, rather than the punishing the sins. That is why we can see here the purpose of Vinaya is pedagogy, not punishing, to educate the monastics so that they can have the sensitivity. You see, otherwise, due to the background, some people come from very humble background without any family education, without any etiquette, and then they just live naturally and according to the village customs. And sometimes it is not up to the standard of the society, and it can lead to the criticizing of the people. That is why the Buddha has to teach even the slightest etiquette, so that a monastic will have a proper behavior, sensitivity, and deportment. This is the very fundamental pedagogy in Buddhism. And we can see that even though there are less severe rules, but the severe rules protect the foundational pillars of the monastic identity. We can divide the rules into the 4 pillars. The pillar 1, spiritual integrity. The acts that fundamentally contradict renunciant life, for example, intentional killing, sexual intercourse, or false claims of attainment. So these action destroys monastic identity. So because you see that we use the term monastic identity here, because there is a difference between the monastic and a lay people. For lay people, they only need to keep the 5 precepts. But for a monastic, we aim at liberation from the samsara, and also to eliminate all kinds of craving, all kinds of aversion, all kinds of illusions. That is why the more severe rules should be laid down by the Buddha to help the monastic, so that they can get right on the practice, on the Dhamma path. And these are we can say that the parachika is the monastic identity. That is why once they committed these acts, they destroyed the monastic identity. And the second pillar, we can say that these are the Sangha rule, and it can help to protect the communal trust. That is why The acts that damage the moral fabric of the community, for example, theft, deception, manipulation, or abuse of authority, these can harm the harmony and also the trust among the Sangha members and among the lay community. So these are also considered very severe rules. The pillar 3, protection from harm, acts that injure others, exploit vulnerability, or threaten communal harmony and division. We can see that on the rules the Buddha laid down, it is always has a purpose. So that is why any purpose that can injure others or exploit others or threaten the harmony, etc., all are forbidden. And the group 4, we can say it is the preservation of training. The acts that breed luxury, vanity, status seeking, and self-indulgence, corrupting the spirit of renunciation. So these rules usually are in the Nisakya Pachittiya and Pachittiya rules. So it can prevent the monastics from living a luxurious life and also not to indulge in the luxury in the comfort, because we should always remember that being a monastic, we need to keep the spirit of renunciation. But sometimes, especially in this modern time, when the life is easier and when the material comfort is abundant, and also when the lay people are very generous and they have a good faith in the Sangha, and sometimes they offer the best things they have to the Sangha members. And if we don't have these Vinaya rules to help us to control ourselves, then it is very easy for us to become luxurious and also self-indulgent. That is why these kinds of rules are still very up to the date. It is even from the time of the Buddha, but still very up to date and very necessary for us in this modern time. And now I would like also to compare the Vinaya, the Buddha's Vinaya, with the modern law, because we can see that sometimes they say that if sometimes this rule only forbidden by the Buddha, but it's not against the modern law or the social law. So here we can compare and we differentiate the modern law. The purpose of the modern law is to enforce the social order, while the Vinaya cultivates liberation. So we have here the comparison. First is the core question. In the modern law, the core question is, was society harmed when someone does an action? And that when it makes people uneasy, then and they can come and sue. So the question will be asked, was by this action, was the society harmed? And if yes, then they committed the law, the rules. But for the Vinaya, the core question is, was liberation abandoned? Sometimes the action does not harm the society, but it leads to the abandon of liberation because they indulge in the sensual pleasure or something else. So in the case, we put the question, was liberation abandoned? This is a core question of the Vinaya. Then the primary goal. The goal of the modern law is the social control and the public safety. Otherwise, people just do whatever they like without punishment. Then the society will be in a chaos. But with the law, then the society is controlled and the public is safe. But the primary goal of the Vinaya is liberation and spiritual purification, as we have discussed before. Then we come to mechanism. In modern law, the mechanism is state enforcement and punishment. So everyone in the same country must abide by the law, the state law. And if they do not obey the law, then they could be punished by imprisonment or by the financial financial punishment. They had to pay some kinds of fine. But the mechanism in the Vinaya is self-discipline and inner transformation. The Vinaya does not enforce anyone, even the bhikkhus and the bhikkhunis, because they voluntarily vow to become a bhikkhuni and ask permission to be accepted into the Sangha. And with that, they have to abide by the Bhikkhu Patimokha and the Bhikkhuni Patimokha. And it is self-discipline and for the purpose of inner transformation. Then we come to the assessment criteria. So in the modern law, it is external legality and the consent. It means that in modern law, they only see the external legality. If you did it, either with any intention, when you committed the rules, it means you committed, and with consent or not with consent. But according to the Vinaya, so the assessment criteria is internal intentionality and attachment. Not external, but internal. We need to ask, is it, this is the first paragraph we already mentioned. In Vinaya, we always ask that, was the action deliberate, or was there the awareness, with their intentional? That is why we don't only look at the external performance, but we look at the internal intentionality, and also, is there any kind of attachment there, like in the Nisakkiya Pachittiya? Then the ultimate focus. So for the modern law, they focus on the individual rights, so that everyone has the proper rights in their property, in their individual life, etc. But the ultimate focus of the Vinaya is renunciation. So these are the difference between the modern law and the Vinaya. We can say that Buddhist law. Now we can have a case study, like the first defeat is an abandonment of the renunciant identity. So the first parachika, yopana bhikkhuni va metunang dhammang patisebeya parachiko hoti. So you can see that to modern minds, consensual acts are not criminal. That is why we can say here that in the modern law, we have the consent. If both are consent, then no issue. But here, even the consensual act, that is why to the modern mind, consensual act are not criminal. But this is why is it an irreversible defeat in the Vinaya? The question. It is also the example to compare between the modern law and the Buddhist law about the first parachika. Because for the modern law, for the social law, the consensual sexual acts are not criminal. But here, we can say in Buddhism, the foundation here, the monastic life is strictly founded upon celibacy, simplicity, and total freedom from sensual attachment. That is why the contradiction here, engaging in the act, is not merely a mistake. It is a direct behavioral abandonment of the renunciation identity itself. It contradicts the celibacy. That is we can say that the identity of the renunciant. And the consequence, here we can expulsion, permanent expulsion. But expulsion here is not a punishment. It is only the factual recognition that the fundamental training conditions have been broken. You can see that when a person committed the parachika, we say that they are exposed. But it is not punishment, even because right after they committed the offense, they are not worthy to remain a monastic anymore. That is why we say it is only the factual recognition by the Sangha that this person is no more a monastic because they have broken the monastic criteria. So here we have the psychological precision. A full parachika requires intention, awareness, voluntary participation, and completion of the act. On the contrary, accidental contact, coercion, or lack of consciousness do not constitute a full offense. That is why I meant to focus here in this session is the psychological aspect of the Vinaya. Here we see the psychological here on the intention, awareness, voluntary participation, and that is on the psychological impact. And here, and if there is no intention, only accidental contact, etc., and lack of consciousness, it do not constitute a full offense. It may be a tulachaya, it may be a dukkata, but not a full offense. Now I come to another problem in the Vinaya, that is that if sometimes if we abide by the rules, is it possible to become silapata paramasa, attachment to the rite and rituals? So we can say that ritual observance can become an identity trap. We should remember the Vinaya is a raft for crossing over, not the shore itself. So if we are so attached to the Vinaya, then it can become silabata paramasa. So what does silabata paramasa mean? So it is believing that external observance, vows, and rituals. So rituals is vata or bhatta. They are in themselves the entirety of liberation and leading to the grasping and misapprehension, paramasa. You see, sometimes people think that I will read again this paragraph about the definition of sila bhatta paramasa. Believe in that external observance, vows, and rituals are in themselves the entirety of liberation, leading to grasping and misapprehension. So to be free from sila bhatta paramasa, we need to be aware of the three dangers of fixation. First is the identity building. Usually, when a monastic observe the Vinaya very well, then they usually have this concept: I am superior because my conduct is purer. You can see, I meet some monastics and they have this kind of concept. And this is why we can say that discipline fits concept or manner, self-will, sakkayaditthi, and sectarianism. Sectarianism means sometimes they said that only in my tradition, the Vinaya is pure. In other tradition, you are very loose. You can see that in Thailand or in Sri Lanka, we can see that there are especially in Sri Lanka, they have forest monks and city monks. And usually the forest monks are more strict in the Vinaya, while the city monks are a little bit looser. And but not that all the forest monks are pure and all the city monks are impure. But some, if they have the concept that only my tradition, my lineage is pure, and other lineage is impure, then there will be the sign of sectarianism. And self-will, sakkayaditthi, means you have the concept that oh, I'm very pure. My behavior, my morality is very good. So you have the image of yourself being a very pure person. This is also a kind of sakkayaditthi, self-will, one of the 10 samyojana. So this is one of the dangers of the identity building when a person observes the rules strictly. The second danger is empty performance. Some people keep the procedural details perfectly on the outside, while internally still cultivating greed, anger, jealousy, and fear. I also see in some cases, some monks and nuns, they are very, very meticulous in every detail of the procedure of the, like a Sangha Karma, on the ceremony, on the every activities. It must be perfect according to the rule. If you do a little different, they cannot accept. But it is sometimes only outside, only empty performance. While inside, they are still cultivating greed, anger, jealousy, pride, conceit, sometimes fear of being criticized, etc. And the third danger is mistaken means for ends. Because sometimes they say that, oh, being a monk or being a nun, I have to keep on the Vinaya rules. And if they have kept on the Vinaya rules, then it's enough. Then it is mistaken means for ends. Because they are clinging to the form, while forgetting the goal. The goal of the Vinaya is not the Vinaya itself. The goal of the Vinaya is the purification and the liberation from all kinds of defilements. So these are the three dangers of the fixation to the Vinaya that can lead to the Silabbata Paramasa. We need to be careful. And in order to escape from the Silabbata Paramasa, we need to practice the middle way. And the middle way requires discipline, non-clinging. You see why we say the middle way? Because it avoid two extremes. The first extreme is rich legalism. So these are fear-based perfectionism, constant judgment, ritual formalism without compassion, measuring worth by external precision alone. I think that you can also see some kinds of rigid legalism in your Sangha or in some Sangha. Some people, when they think that they are observing the Vinaya, then they have constant judgment. Always judge that this one are abiding by the rules or not, and then they criticize those who are not pure, etc. And sometimes measuring worth by external precision alone. It means that you evaluate a person only by basing on the external performance of a people. And the other extreme is careless freedom. So some people said that we don't need to be so attached to the legalism. So they reject the restraint out of ego. They have attachment to comfort, autonomy, and an anti-structure identity. Some kinds of some people, they said that now I have practiced up to a standard after so many years, and now up to this level of mind, mental cultivation, then for me, I think that Vinaya is not so very important because I can control my mind all the time. So it is also another extreme. So the middle way is the discipline non-clinging, because we know that discipline protects harmony and it simplifies the mind. There is no egoic grasping and no identity construction. Identity construction means you try to keep the Vinaya very well, and so that you are labeled a virtuous monastic. So it is called identity construction. Because you see, the motivation inside is also very important. The external performance only is not enough. Sometimes some monastic try to behave very well, always very good, very perfect deportment, but only for performance, for impression, for taking the respect of the community. But inside, the mind is full of ego, conceit, jealousy, etc. So the middle way is that we also respect the discipline. That is why you can see here even the noble disciples, the arahants who have destroyed all the factors, they still observe the Vinaya, not because the ritual saved them, but because mindfulness expresses wisdom naturally. Because they have mindfulness, that is why naturally they live according to the rules. Because on the rules the Buddha put only to make the harmony and to keep everything going smoothly in the Sangha and with the lay community. Another problem here is that I have another question here. You see that in the modern time, sometimes we have to adapt. And sometimes we not keep on the precept, on the rules in the Bhikkhuni Patimokkha. So how we can justify between the adaptation and the living according to the rules? And here we can see that adaptation must preserve core integrity while flexing on procedure. So we can see that the ancient Vinaya did not envision airports, digital banking, or global institutions. How do modern bhikkhunis adapt society without dissolving the rules? That is the question. So to solve this problem, we need to have this principled adaptation matrix. First, we need to differentiate between among the rules. There are some rules called core ethical integrity. It is a core ethical integrity. So in this case, we have sexual conduct, intentional harm, stealing, and false claims. These are non-negotiable. Even in the modern time, we cannot negotiate not to abide by these rules because these are the core of the monastic life. Then we come to the next level, monastic simplicity, like money handling, possessions, or luxury. So in this case, because in this case we need to have careful restraint, because you see sometimes, like in the time of the Buddha, there is no mentioning of the digital, or like we can say that ATM card, or we don't have the possession of smartphones or laptop or some kinds of luxury. So because the rules are not there, so some people will think that is it okay for the monks and the nuns use these kinds of luxury? So in this case, we can, this is not like the non-negotiable. Here we can negotiate, but with the careful restraint. And then the next level is social protocol, about the dress forms, travel conventions, or gender interactions. you see, for the dress form example, for dress forms, in the Buddha's time, the monks sometimes they inside the hall they need to wear the chivara with the right shoulder, bare right shoulder. Only when they go outside, then they cover both shoulders. But in the modern time, sometimes even in indoors, but when you leave the shoulders bare, it is impolite. Or sometimes the Buddha for some forest monks, they don't wear slippers. But in the Western countries, like in America, in some places, they do not let those without slippers to go inside the house. So in this case, we need to be context sensitive, not always fixed to the rule, because that rules only proper to the India in the ancient time, and now it is the America in the modern time, and the dress forms or the travel convention, it should be we should have this kind of adjustment, not always fixed, because it will be against the society regulations. And then the next level is procedural details like logistics, formal S, timings, and these are logistics timing. So sometimes you see that for the sometimes the formal as the Sangha Kamma or for logistics, for the transportation. For example, in the Vinaya, they say that we cannot travel on the vehicles if we are not sick. But nowadays, everyone have to use vehicle even when we are not sick, because it takes time too much. If we fix on that rule, and that is why some kinds of these rules must be adaptable in the modern time. So the goal is not a literal imitation of ancient India, but the preservation of simplicity, restraint, accountability, and transparency. Now we come to the next part. Modern monastics must protect the mind from redefined necessity. You see how we say about the redefined necessity. Because some necessities, the necessity of the monastic of the ancient time and the modern time is quite different. So we need to redefine, but in which extent? So now we come to the first one, assess intention and effect. So for example, we in the modern time, we need the means of technology. So we need to ask the question, does this technology or convenience increase greed, vanity, power, or distraction? It should be used in some degree, not so much, and so that it can increase the greed or vanity, or to show our power. Or also, if you use so much, it becomes a distraction from the practice. So when we assess the technology, device, or convenience, we should ask ourselves the question, does this increase greed, vanity, power, or distraction? The first one. The second one, choose simplicity. Even if an action is technically permissible, always choose the simpler option to protect the mind. So we can see that if we have many options to choose, if we do not restrain our mind, we could choose the more fancier, the more convenient, the more modern. But if we would like to train our mind and to be aware of our defilements, we should choose the simplicity. It is very beneficial for the practice. The third one, beware consumer culture. The modern culture constantly redefines need. But we need to cultivate contentment, santuti, and fullness of wishes, apicchata. You see, now we are living in the consumer culture, especially for the developed countries. Day by day, many newer and newer technological devices come into being, and then sometimes we think that we need this one or we need that one, and we think that it is a necessity. And they said that, for example, a laptop is a necessity. But sometimes, which kind of laptop, and also, do you really need a laptop enough or not? So the other day, I remember Venerable Bodhicitta was giving a class in the Dhamma, and she asked me to share the video about one video clip concerning with her lectures. And I asked her that whether she is using a laptop so that she can share the video clip herself. But she said, no, I am using only the cell phone. So I was rather impressed because she is living in Australia, a very developed country, but she is not even using a laptop. So I think that in this case, she really has a very fullness of wishes, apicchata. We can say that she is practicing the santuti and apicchata. And this is a very good example for the bhikkhunis to follow. And the fourth one is to maintain communal accountability. Do not adapt rules solely for personal convenience. Consult senior monastic to preserve humility and guard against moral decline. You see, sometimes we adapt the rules only for the personal convenience. And we think that, I need to do so, Or then in the case you are not sure that it is proper or not, then you should consult your senior monastic so that you should go to the extreme of luxury and against by this we can guard against the moral decline. And the last one is honesty in adaptation. We should clearly distinguish between what is genuinely impossible in modern system versus what is merely inconvenient to the ego. What does it mean? Because sometimes for some rules, we think that, how can we keep that rules? It is impossible in this modern time. But sometimes it is only inconvenient, not impossible. If we try, we can also keep it. For example, the precept of not receiving and keeping the money. Many monastics think that in this time we cannot keep that precept anymore because we have to go here and there, we have to pay for this and that. And we say that it is impossible. But you see, when I visited the Western Sangha, like the Sangha of Ajahn Ram in Australia, and the Sangha of Venerable Tathaaloka in the US, they don't keep the money for their own. They have the committee, and the committee with also the lay people, they will take care of the money. And if the monastic needs anything, they can inform the committee. Then the committee can buy the things, buy the tickets, and arrange everything for them so that they can travel here and there. They can get any kinds of requirements, any requisites, but they don't need to keep the money. So I really admire the way they deal with money. So we need to be very honest and very earnest in adapting. We need to remind ourselves that conduct exists only to stabilize the mind for the ultimate liberation. We always remind that the Tisikha, Sila, Samadhi, and Panya, these are the basic practice in Buddhism towards the ultimate liberation. So Sila, or conduct, stabilize behavior, it establishes boundaries and protects communal harmony, while Samadhi or meditation stabilize the mind and cultivates unbroken awareness. And Panya, or wisdom, liberates the mind through profound insight. Then, without wisdom, even good conduct becomes an identity trap. But with wisdom, careful conduct becomes a natural expression rather than a compulsion. So the ultimate question is, does this training reduce greed, hatred, and delusion? So our last slide. True discipline is a container for freedom. The Buddha did not create the Vinaya to imprison practitioners. So some people, especially lay people, when they look at the Bhikkhu Patimokkha and the Bhikkhuni Patimokkha with so many rules, they think that, oh, these rules are like a prison. It is like you are in prison without it, among so much rules. But if we understand the nature of the rules, we can see that the rule is not to imprison the practitioners. He did not create it merely to produce good citizens or enforce the social control, like in the modern law. The Buddha created the Vinaya only to protect freedom, to reduce suffering, to simplify life, and to support the awakening. And so, when held wisely, Vinaya becomes a container for freedom, a protection of mindfulness, and a training in non-self. So this is the end for our session today. What I aim in this session is that when we live according to the Vinaya, we should not be attached to the rules and not just only the external performance, but we need to focus on the mind, on the intention, on the recognition, the chetana, the sanya, and also we even if we adapt to the modern society, we should be honest. We should always ask ourselves the question: does this create greed, hatred, or illusion? Does this lead to attachment? Does this lead to status or vanity or self status, etc.? We need to be honest with ourselves and always enhance the spirit of santuti and apicchata. And if we can do so, we can reduce our defilements, and also not to have an ego when we are keeping the very good Vinaya. We shouldn't criticize others or have the conceit, the pride about ourselves. Because do not compare. We are good in the Vinaya, but how about our Vinaya is not the end. Vinaya is only the foundation. How about our meditation? How about our liberation? And if when you are practicing meditation, when you begin to criticize others, when you begin to look down upon others, you should be aware, there is conceit there, there is the mana, there is the greed, there is the self-view in there, all kinds of defilements that may be arising due to their purity in the Vinaya. You should be aware. So that we can avoid the two extremes, the extremes of the external legalism and the extreme of the careless freedom. We live according to the Vinaya, but in the middle way. So that is the last saying of I would like to say before we end the part of the Vinaya that I am responsible to. And next week you will study in details from the Parachika and the Sanghadisesa, etc. My part is the general understanding of the Vinaya. And Venerable Dhammavicani's part is to go into details of each rules of the Patimokkha. And I hope that after this course, only of 3 months, but you have a basic foundation in understanding the Vinaya and the Dhamma. And now is the time for discussion. If you have any questions, any comments, please raise your hand. Thank you.
Aya, can I ask a question, please?
Okay, yes.
I don't remember which slide, but it was maybe about the third or fourth one. And it was, if you could talk a little bit more about the anti-identity or anti-person. So there were 3 different dangers within that practice, and one of them was something I'd not heard of before. Could you elaborate a little bit about that? Thank you.
Okay. Let me share the slide again. Yeah. This way. Yeah, maybe you mentioned here, right? The three.
No, it might be the next one actually, the yellow one. Okay, the next
This
one. No. The one that was no, not the flower.
No, we go.
No.
Okay, we go back.
Maybe the back.
We go back.
I think the next one. Yes, here, where careless freedom is, about the anti-structure identity. Thank you.
This one.
Yes.
Okay. You know, anti-structure identity means sometimes because it is a careless freedom, sometimes they think that, oh, why need we be in that system? The system is so strict, and then it is so much convention. All these kinds of the Vinaya is only panyati. So some kinds, you see, some kinds of some people they think that, oh, I practice vipassana, then only the paramattha. So in the paramattha there is no bhikkhuni, and no rules, this rule or that rule. All these rules are only to make a structure, and this structure, this system is not the paramattha, is it only conventional. So they have the anti-structure identity. I don't need to be in kinds of system. I will be against the stream, and then I'm now a free practitioner. Then I can live alone. I can practice the Dhamma very well. So I think that this is what we call anti-structure identity. The structure here, you can say the Sangha structure with on the kinds of discipline. This is okay for you now?
Yes, thank you kindly.
I shall too. Okay, any other questions? I see. Let me see in the chat. Sajale Kusalachari asks, are there any books or online resources to read for more details? So about the books for the Vinaya, you can read I think that we have three resources. The first is the Buddhist Monastic Code by Venerable Thanissaro. And then the Bhikkhuni Patimokkha with the explanation by Venerable Suchato. And now we have also the Vinaya Pitaka translation by Venerable Brahmali. Usually these scholars, monastic scholars, when they translate, they also give some explanation based on the Atthakatha and also based on their own thinking and their own reasoning. For example, about the money handling, etc. I remember Venerable Thanissaro also discussed on ATM card, etc. So I think that it is very up to date. So you can read these kind of books on Venerable suttacentral.net, the website of Venerable Suchato. Any other
Another question.
Yes.
About that part of the Vinaya, about the Tika, where new rules or new explanations are added in regard to the Bhikkhuni Sangha. Where, if I wanted to look at what is the most recent updated comments or commentaries to that now, like you just mentioned that the Ajahn had put something in about the ATM cards, where are there bhikkhunis writing into that form, and when was the last one, and where would I be able to look at that?
Can you again
okay.
summarize the question?
So that tika component of the commentaries, where you said it's still a live part, people are adding to that. Are bhikkhunis writing into that? And if so, where would I look for that? And just as if you could give me an example, when was the last contribution to that tika by a bhikkhuni?
I think that it's very difficult to trace. Yes, usually only the tika, the Atthakatha and tika are made by the monks and by especially the scholar monks. Very few, usually we have no mentioning of the bhikkhuni writer. Only they can comment on the bhikkhuni Vinaya, but usually the comments also made by the monks themselves. So I haven't met any like bhikkhuni writers. So, but maybe I don't know about Venerable Tathaloka knows or not, because she's also very interested in the bhikkhuni Vinaya. And you can also ask Venerable Suchato and Venerable Brahmali, because they are the Vinaya experts. But I, in my experience, I don't meet any.
Because I was wondering whether there is some sort of commission structure within that, like who gives the permission or the authority for, like, if you wanted to write something there, is there a format? Like, do you have to ask like somebody, or you just do it? How does that happen?
For the tika, yeah, I think that for the tika, we don't say we don't use the word tika for the modern writing. We only say that if a person would like to give some comments on the how to apply the Vinaya in the modern day, then they just write an article and they post on their website, or they publish in books form, and then people will know about their ideas. And if it is widely accepted, then maybe in the future it can be included in the Vinaya books. So I think that in the modern time it will be in this way. Yeah. Okay, so I think that if there is no more questions, then we can stop here. I would like to wish you all good health and goodwill, good practice, so that you can destroy on the mental defilements and escape from the samsara. Idang no nya tinang hotu sukita huntunya tayo. Idang no nya tinang hotu sukita huntunya tayo. idang no nya tinang hotu sukita huntu nya tayo idang vattame punyang asavakaya bahang hotu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu. So, yeah, we will not have the class next week. And
Venerable Dhammavichani, you take class from next week because my sessions have been finished.
we gave 1 week break, and then we will have the exam also.
Because I'm thinking of how to have exam online. It's quite difficult.
Yeah.
And
also we don't have some bhikkhunis, like some of them are permanent joining every class, but some bhikkhunis they sometimes join one class and don't join another class. So I could not take the proper attendance of the bhikkhunis also. And sometimes some join in the beginning and then they leave in the middle of the class. So sometimes this also. So
but I think that in my part I will give some kinds of questions and ask them to prepare and send to me. It is not like examination, only like a review, so that I can know that they understand what we have discussed only.
Okay. Yes, yeah. So I will update the next schedule after discussing with Venerable Dhammavichani when she will take the class, maybe from the next week, or we will give a break of 1 week, then she will start. I will confirm with Venerable Dhammavichani and I will inform all of the Venerables present here.
Oh, I know, because she told me that she will be busy in July. That is why she had to teach only in June. That is why I think that she will start next week without.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
See you again.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.